What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Latrina, and I'm back again today with another tarot spread read. And starting off in our first row, it looks like someone is not able to rest regarding something that they did harvest, something that they worked upon. It has someone in concern and unable to rest regarding this crop that they did sow and work upon. You see, because we have the Queen of Swords coming out also in that first row, along with the Judge in the reverse, which tells me that whatever was worked upon has gotten somebody, and it may be this mature man here, in concern. And it may even be a judge that's in concern about these crops that were harvested. Because you see, the Queen of Swords has come onto the deck in the very first row. And the Queen of Swords is a representation of truth. And she's really not, and she even is a representation of cutting things loose that no longer serve her. And it's not going to be speaking of a literal person, and it could be, but this just lets me know that this judge is not able to rest. He is in now concern about some things that were worked upon, because the Queen of Swords brings in truth, and she even cuts off things that are not favoring truth or that are not speaking truth. So that's exactly maybe what this judge, but this judge comes out in the reverse again today. So that tells me that maybe, he's even in concern. He's not able to rest. He's become restless over this crop that was harvested, and that it actually wasn't harvested, because that Seven of Pentacles comes out in the reverse, which tells me that either something, that you didn't work upon, the Queen of Swords has brought in that truth, or something that just didn't grow, something that didn't manifest in the realm of this gentleman here. He's an older gentleman in concern, and it may be this judge, that does come out in the reverse. This judge may be concerned about something that was harvested, or something that wasn't harvested, or something that wasn't worked upon even by this judge. Maybe this judge did not do his proper job, because that Seven of Pentacles does speak of, a crop and a harvest. And it actually is in the reverse. Whatever this crop or this harvest is regarding, it's in the reverse. So that tells me that there's two things. Either someone did not work upon this, or actually that they didn't receive, the outcome that they were anticipating is what's got this man in concern. The outcome they anticipated when they planted these crops, they didn't actually receive that, what they thought they would, and it's got them restless, and they're not even able to rest due to something that this Queen of Swords either revealed or either she cut loose. Something was cut loose or either revealed when dealing with this Queen of Swords, because she represents the truth, for one, and she does cut off anything that is opposing the truth. And so it's probably, something was cut off that was worked upon, that's got some people or a person in particular in concern. And it may be this judge is in concern about what was harvested or what wasn't harvested. And he can't even rest. This judge is not able to rest over this situation that was not harvested. Because, see, in our next row, we do get the emotional withdrawal. It's actually put him into emotional withdrawal. It's either this individual coming out of this gray-headed man. Maybe he's in concern, and maybe this gray-headed man is the judge, because this judge comes right out in the same row with this man that is in concern. Because the Queen of Swords came in on that row. The truth is what came in on this crop that was harvested, or this crop that wasn't even harvested. They did plant the seeds, and they did water the the ground, but it didn't come up because somebody was a coward, because that always comes out with that harvest. And it's actually thrown somebody into emotional withdrawal, regarding this seed that they planted. They planted a seed, and the Queen of Swords came in on this seed. And she actually probably prevented the truth, or she revealed the truth, is what I was trying to say. And this is happening in the present time, because we do get the distant horizon card coming out in the reverse. Presently someone is emotionally withdrawn about this matter, and it's left them restless and in concern. And it's even, got them in trouble with an officer, whatever that they did plant in the ground and whatever they were trying to harvest. There's an officer that did step into the tarot spread today. The tarot spread read, we got an officer, and he's in the upright. And this is regarding something that was done in the past. A lie that was spoken in the past. Because that Ace of Swords speaks of a lie, because it does come out in the reverse. That Ace of Swords and something, this Six of Cups speaks of the past. So there was a lie that was told in the past, maybe by an officer, but because this officer comes out in the upright, that tells me that this officer did actually, come into the situation regarding this lie and this seed that was sown. And this is happening presently. This officer is actually come into the situation, causing an emotional withdrawal to all involved, to these past harvests and these past crops that were planted. Oh, and these crops were lies. That's what they planted. That was the seed that they planted. It was lies. It was all based on lies. And this Queen of Swords comes in to cut right through them lies. That's what her job is. She actually penetrates a lie. Her sword will cut right through the lies of this crop that was harvested. It was all regarding a lie that was told in the past, probably to an officer. Maybe, somebody was lying to an officer. And it may be, this judge had something to really do with this, because he keeps coming out every day. Sometimes he comes out in the upright, and sometimes he's been coming out in the reverse. This judge does, But whatever lie was told in the past, it's got some people in concern, for surely in concern, and not able to rest. because we do next have the authority card coming out right on top of this hangman. And they're both in the upright. So that lets me know that someone has gotten caught up with the laws, with the law official, because we also have this officer and authority. So that's a double representation of the law stepping in on a situation. We have an authority figure coming out, and we have an officer coming out, and they've, maybe they've become aware of this lie that was actually told in the past. And it was actually an investment. This lie was an investment that has this person in concern, or it may even have this judge in concern. And this Queen of Swords, she's not concerned because she's coming out in the upright, and she's here to reveal the truth about this lie. She's here to expose the truth. Maybe, it's also regarding a marriage that does come out with the authority row card. And then we get the jealousy card also coming out in that third row. So maybe someone was jealous about a union or a marriage even. And it's actually got them caught up. This balance, this mixture, when we get this temperance card, it lets me know that two things were having to be combined. Two things were combined, and it was probably a lie and a marriage were those two things that were combined that did put somebody in the hangman position, because it comes right out in that same row. It's the next pieces to this crop that was harvested, which was a lie. The harvest was a lie. The seed was a lie. They watered it, and they hoped that it would grow. They hoped this investment would grow for them. But it didn't, because the Queen of Swords came in and revealed the truth on this situation. And in whatever way whatever way she did that, she did reveal and bring the truth onto the spread. And we got an officer that brought in, that may be aware or being made aware of this truth about this lie. This officer has become aware about this past lie that was hard, planted. This lie was planted in the ground, and in expectation of some type of an outcome, or harvest. They bring in a lot, an abundance of it can be whatever you planted. So they were expecting something to double and triple and grow upon itself, just like seeds do. You put them in the dark, you water them, and then they pop out. But see, this seed didn't do that. This lie that they told in the past, it didn't grow, and it did not manifest as they expected it to, because the Queen of Swords came in on that lie, and she did cut through it, and she revealed the truth about this mixture, with this little lie, and we got a judge here. We got everything we need to mix this lie together to harvest this crop. The authorities have came in on that, and it's got somebody jealous because of jealousy. So this lie, probably was created because someone was jealous. And it may have been someone of authority that was jealous, Or maybe just this officer and this authority figure is actually able to see through this lie, and see that someone is jealous about a marriage. And maybe there's no balance in this marriage, There's no proper mixture when it comes to this marriage. And it's got somebody feeling trapped. the mixture that they did try to combine, when they came together in this marriage, it's got them feeling like the hangman. And probably because they're facing officers and authority figures and judges, all about some jealousy, because that card comes out right with the marriage and the hangman. So whatever someone did, in the past, when they sowed this crop of lies and jealousy, it didn't manifest. It didn't even produce the yield that they were expecting. Because in our next row, we do get the transformation card in the reverse. So that means something did not die. And it did not transform as they expected. Because you see, when you do put a seed in the ground, it does have to transform through that darkness. It has to come into a stage of rest and death, because this transformation is the death card in the traditional tarot deck. But by it coming out in the reverse, that seed didn't even die. That seed, it has to die before it can spring forth back to life, but it never died. And maybe this seed is also dealing with an individual that never died, an individual never died. Because, see, we do get this Milady card in the reverse. They were expecting, this false person, which does come out in the fourth row, was expecting someone to transform through a passing or through a death, But she didn't, because the Milady card comes out in the reverse. So this transformation never happened. The death card is in the reverse. And see, that was one of the expected crops. They expected your death as a return on their investment. And we get the devil card also coming out in that fourth row, right with the Three of Pentacles, which does speak of teamwork, something being worked upon in the dark, dealing with this false person here. And she's coming out in the reverse. This false person's in the reverse because she was trying to manifest your death. And she was also trying to stop you from any transformation, any life. She was trying to stop any life that you had. That's just plain as I can put it. Whenever I see that Milady card, and she speaks of an illness, but when it's in the reverse, and then right coming out in the same row with the death card, that lets me know they expected that as a crop, because that crop is right, that investment is the first card on the deck. It's all about these investments. And they made investments with the devil even. They made commitments and investments with the devil. This false person did, trying to get somebody to transform. And they even probably, even stolen someone's identity, because we got show me your ID. And then we got the Three of Pentacles, which is that teamwork. And I've had my identity stolen several times, by a family member. She continues to use my name and actually break the law and then give the cops my name. And I'm not sure as though why they haven't charged her for that to this day, because I have a folder full of her using me as her alias, my name. She had the devil involved in this actual death and in this fraud situation, of the false identity or misidentification, and all this effort coming from this teamwork too. This whole team had to put forth efforts on this lie and this invested crop that they had planted to see you come to death, to bring you to death. That was the mixture. See, the lie and then this death that they wished upon you. They tried to harvest death upon you. And then, and it's something works until it doesn't. That's exactly what that tells me. because we do have the authorities coming out in this third row, and along with an officer, and along with the judge. So this crop that they tried to destroy, or no, they tried to build this crop, and they tried to balance this lie along with this jealousy, and along with working and team working with the devil. Because see, this Three of Pentacles speaks of teamwork. So they had to work with the devil to get this crop to harvest and to manifest. Even they worked with the devil. And it throwed this false person into the reverse. All of her crops are in the reverse due to you not dying. You did not transform, and you did not receive an illness. You didn't die due to an illness. And see, the devil was in on this contract with whomever this false person is. The devil was involved. They was under contract with the devil, working together with the devil. Whenever you see that Three of Pentacles coming out, show me your ID. That's working with the devil, trying to create an illusion with this lie. And jealousy even. That was one of the reasons why they tried to actually bring an end to you, is because of jealousy. We get that jealousy card, and we get this marriage card in the second row. And then next we get the Hermit in the very last row, which that speaks of shedding the light upon a situation, because that Hermit he brings in the light. He's holding up a lantern to the situation that we are discussing here. And he brings up this lantern, and the light shines upon this fulfillment of wishes, or somebody's attempt to receive a fulfillment of wishes. There was, they was looking for balance. They're seeking balance now, That speaks of the Two of Pentacles, which is the juggler, It's got somebody seeking balance. Or maybe, instead of this transformation and instead of this illness, you actually harvested balance and a fulfillment of wishes. This is what crops you manifested just from standing your ground and just from being true to yourself. You actually did manifest balance and a fulfillment of wishes, because you never did work together with no devil. You never worked. You never had any teamwork with the devil, but this false person did. But the authorities have shown up, and we got an officer showing up, and we got a judge in the reverse. And now if this judge isn't in on the tape, then that means that this crop throwed him in the reverse once he became aware of it. Once he became aware of the seeds that were sown into this ground, trying to produce a death and trying to produce a wish fulfillment, and balance, and probably even trying to produce a marriage, through these lies and these crop harvesting and stuff. And then we get this occupation card coming out. You will be receiving a wish fulfillment by way of your occupation, and because of whatever was worked upon with this devil contract, with this contract that they had out for you, you're going to receive a wish fulfillment, And this wish fulfillment may be even speaking of a courtship. And you have been restored. Your hope has been restored. And it's actually left someone crying over spilled milk, and even in a departure state. They had to leave something, because this Hermit stepped in and he shined the light on this situation, and it's forced somebody to have to walk away. and you can see that she's actually in departure. The ship is sailing away from the, you know, from the dock or from the land. You know, it's sailing away. It did cause a departure, you know, to happen because of whatever light was shown upon this situation, you know.